all my life. Been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice.
Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Minds with Tyler Simmons. We're down Jordan Brooks today, but we have two special guests. We have Hillary Monette and Meaghan MacDougall. They're on today's episode to talk a bit about beach volleyball. They both played Canada Games. They competed at high-level beach. They both have impressive indoor careers, and now they're both in coaching.
Meaghan, you can go first.
All right. Hey, guys. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us on here. This is awesome. Certainly miss all of you since we're in the pandemic right now, so this is nice to see some human faces. So, yeah, I'm Meaghan. Started playing beach volleyball, or actually any volleyball, around, I think it was 12. I started playing beach at 13 or 14. I think that's when Hill and I started playing together. It was 14, 15. Played 1 year at Acadia, actually with Hill. That was lovely. Then I went on and I actually played at the Mount St. Vincent University.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I had the privilege of having Tyler coach, which was awesome. And now kind of coaching alongside him at the Mount and also with Sonics Volleyball Club.
Nice.
So that's just a little interesting bit about me.
Yeah, Meaghan dominated ACAA for many years.
MVP?
Yeah. And yeah, it was a force, and the both of them together were even bigger force on the
Beach volleyball
courts. So, Taylor, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. Thanks, like Meg said, for having us. This is fun and exciting, something different. Never done a podcast. I'm Hillary. I started playing volleyball, like Meg said. We both started playing around the same time, indoor, and then we joined together to play beach at, I think it was like age 13 or 14, like she said. I played at Acadia for 6 years. Yeah, I was lib and
Registered her first year, that's why it's 6 years.
Okay. I was just like,
yeah,
like, only 6 years. Can I get a year back?
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, were you lib the whole time, or did you start at
Studying or?
Pardon? What'd you say?
Did you play lib the whole time, or did you swing and then switch to lib?
I used to play outside, like in club and stuff, but then I kind of hurt my shoulder, and it was just kind of better for me to be a lib. So going into university, I played lib the whole time. But
yes. And Meaghan was a setter, and so
she could hit too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She could hit the ball. Meaghan coached with us at CPA.
Oh,
and Hillary,
I did coached.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Go for it.
Hey, you coached quite a bit too.
Yeah. Hillary's coached a lot of different teams, male and female. We'll get her to talk about her coaching experiences.
Yeah, so I coached at Horton D1 girls volleyball team the past 3 or 4 years. And then also for club, I started coaching boys. I did coach girls when I was in university in my 3rd year, but I switched to boys. I found it a little bit more fun. You don't necessarily have to sugarcoat everything. So yeah, I started coaching out 16U boys. And then this year I've coached 18U Southside Kingsmen.
Nice.
And that's a new club, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
in the couple of years.
It's a great team. I've got to watch you guys a couple times.
And
Yeah.
they're
Fun to watch.
active on their like commits for university. I think they've had 5 people that are going on post-secondary, which is good to see from Nova Scotia, especially where the season was cut really short.
And a lot of them going out of province too, which is nice to see.
It's nice to see.
Tyler going to Thompson Rivers, and Josh is going to Dal. Josh
Parker at
St. Anne's.
Parker at Ryerson.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's great.
Thomas.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, today we're going to talk a lot about beach volleyball. For those of you who don't know, Meaghan had the beach court in her backyard growing up. So if you were part of like the group of friends, you got to go there all the time, play beach volleyball. Diane would be cooking hamburgers.
Oh yeah.
You'd be swimming. So we want to talk about how important that court was for you, just to have it as kind of at your disposal.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Hillary and I kind of spoke together to each other this morning about this because I find when we started playing, it was more so like the beginning of Nova Scotia beach volleyball. We didn't have the Dartmouth courts that we have now. Damien was our first coach at the time, Damien Joff, and Damien actually had a court in his backyard.
Yeah.
Mostly like a rough patch court, but it still worked, but that's our only resource we had at the time. So then, obviously, Dad got too much into it and was like, what else can we do? Okay, let's bring 60 ton of sand into the yard. And so he decided to do that, and that helped us out a lot, just being the place to go for us to practice, because we didn't really have that at the time. But again, like I mentioned before, it was, I think, mainly because beach just started to begin like in Nova Scotia. Like we didn't really have the beach volleyball program, and we didn't have
the only courts were up where Canada Game Center.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sauk, Nova Scotia. Yeah.
Yeah. So it definitely helps. And how would you describe that the beach game affected your indoor game?
Tremendously.
Yeah.
Hillary, how about you?
I would say when we were talking earlier, we were saying how beach really helped our indoor game, but like it doesn't necessarily help vice versa. Like if you throw an indoor player on the beach court, there's so many different things that aren't allowed from the indoor game that, I mean, you can't do on the beach. So I think it helped us out indoor a lot, and I think that it really brought us to be able to play at the level that we did.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Because like certain people, you put them on the sand, they sink. Like I'm terrible in the sand.
I can pass.
I'm sitting up, cheering, hollering at people. Like I'm terrible in the sand.
I can pass. I can dig.
Yeah.
I cannot jump in the sand. I'm on the ground all day long.
So people that rely on certain like attributes in the indoor game doesn't necessarily translate outside.
No.
Exactly.
So yeah, we'll get you guys to kind of start off about the Canada Games experience a bit and how it was training for that, and
how did you prepare?
Yeah.
What was your mindset going into the Canada Games?
Billy, do you want to take it?
Sure.
This is actually the quiet I've ever seen Hillary Monette.
I know.
I'm like waiting for my turn to speak. I don't know when to go. Normally I just butt in. I would say like our mindset going in, I think we knew the teams that were going to be there kind of thing from playing them at nationals each year. I think we were really excited. We went and watched the Canada Games before us with Pam and Mel. So we had that opportunity to kind of experience it that way by witnessing and kind of doing stats and helping them out. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't necessarily the full thing of going through the whole athletes village and all that stuff with them and actually getting to play against teams. It was a really fun experience. I really enjoyed it. I think that we lucked out in some of the people that we had played because we'd played them in previous tournaments, so we kind of already had some keynotes on them, like advantages of like what they do and what they don't do well and things like that. So we kind of already had game plans for certain people, especially like the Maritime provinces and even Ontario and BC ones. But there are some that I think didn't necessarily get the chance to scout as well, and kind of had some misinformation for it. So that kind of didn't really help us out when we were actually playing them.
Shout out PMG at Annie, Auburn alum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Love her.
We also, I think we were thrown a curveball as well before Canada Games. I know, I don't know if you should include this or not in your podcast. But like Hillary and I talked about, like, there's nothing against the coaches who were coaching us. It's just I don't think we clicked well with that coach. And I think we had very different expectations as athletes, and then as what we wanted to see in a coach as well. And I don't think we matched quite. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Especially in a game like beach where you can't talk to the athletes during the game, to have that trust in the coach to prepare you for the game is very important. And sometimes, like, athletes and coaches don't match.
Yeah, and, like, now that you guys are on the side of coaching, has that happened with a player where you feel that you guys aren't connecting as much as you would like to? Yeah.
Yeah, so some that I find, like, it's hard to, you kind of, like, I know, especially, like, coaching girls, I I really have to watch how I say things, and I almost need to sugarcoat it a bit because I don't want to hurt their feelings where they take it personally. Which I find is sometimes common with some female athletes, not all. I would say Meg and I could take a lot, but there are that you could say something to that they would say to us, and we'd be like, yeah, sure, no problem, like, my bad, and they would just like instantly like start bawling, like hyperventilating, and it was like they were done, like they were totally checked out. And so I've
You're not necessarily one to sugarcoat things for people, so it's good that you.
So that's a skill.
No, that's a whole different hill.
Yeah, that's a skill I've had to learn with coaching and teaching. So
yeah, I was gonna say, and with your teaching too. So
yeah, so it's definitely a skill I've had to learn, but I think that's also why I kind of like coaching boys because they're more like you can say something to them, and even if they're holding each other accountable, they can yell at each other, and girls can't really do that. I mean, you can, but you're not going to get the same results. So I kind of found that coaching, but also with the coaches that we had, I mean, who we had before Canada Games, like Brock was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And like
my favorite coaches we had.
He prepared us. Like I would say, I would give him a lot of credit for how far we got because he had just moved away right before we started to go to Canada Games and in the World Juniors in Halifax.
Definitely put in a lot of time for us, and just even how we ran our practices, like it was very detailed, and like there was always outcomes to what we were doing. We weren't just doing a drill just because. But yeah, he's definitely helped us in the beach volleyball and where we got to. So
as coaches, do you guys now see the importance to let players know the details for what drills and why we're doing this and the outcome?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because you saw it as a player where you're like, oh man, kind of questioning it, and then you're like, oh, I see exactly.
If anything, it made your coaching even better.
Yeah,
having that experience.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
we'll get you guys to talk a little bit about each other as teammates, the relationship there. Both of you guys are two of the most competitive people I know. I think that's why we're all in the same friend group. But yeah, just to how that relationship was, because you guys were attached at the hip for all summers, from pretty much 16U to like,
I think
push your university.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think it's important to like learn the importance of like how each other works in a way and like what pisses each other off. But like being, like you guys said, we are both very competitive people, and if Hill wasn't playing well or if she missed a ball, she just says, like, if I say something, I'm like, hey, like, Hill, you can get that, let's go, like, work harder, like, try harder. And she would say this exact same thing to me, but we wouldn't turn our backs towards each other. We're like, yeah, you're right, I can do better. And like, I think that was the relationship we had, was we were so open with each other and able to like push each other to our limit, basically.
Yeah, I would say, like, I mean, if people, like, if we had mics on us when we were playing, people would be like, man, these girls are really mean to each other. They don't know, like, what our relationship is like. Like, we basically grew up as sisters, essentially, from being with each other and spending so many days and hours together that it was basically like that kind of a relationship, and it didn't really matter. We both knew at the end of the day we weren't trying to hurt each other's feelings. We were just trying to make each other better.
And we both had the same end goal, and that was we wanted to win.
So it didn't really matter what was said. We just wanted to do whatever we could to get there.
The blocker was the libero, and the defender was the setter.
And setters are always known for great defense. So, how did you guys feel that worked for you? Would you have tried to switch it if you could, or you guys were just so comfortable in that it was natural?
And how did it happen like that? How did it?
Trying to think back, like, why did we do it that way?
I think we always practiced like we were both blocking whatever, and then it just kind of transitioned to me doing it.
Because I suck at blocking.
Well, it's not like I have much practice.
It's the truth. It's the truth. So.
I think it just kind of happened. It wasn't necessarily like, oh yeah, she's going to be a blocker, but I mean, it just kind of happened, and it worked for us somehow. Mag was just really good at reading defense around it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I took enough space that she could read and dig everything else up.
Yeah. That's awesome. So yeah, we'll get you guys to talk about the World Junior tournament that was held in Halifax, the process going up to it, kind of just everything about it.
Yeah, so I think this was quite some time ago. But I think we did travel to Toronto for a qualifier. And unfortunately, we didn't make that, but we became on the alternate team because I think they take the top 3 or 4 teams. And I think we lost in that quarterfinal. I think so. Anyway, so when we got here, we were actually fortunate. It's kind of sad to say because other teams were unable to attend because of a hurricane that kept them stranded at home out of country. So that actually allowed alternate teams to get to play. So that actually gave us the opportunity to play in Worlds in our hometown, which was amazing.
What was kind of the feeling that you guys got when you found out that you guys were actually going to be in the tournament in your hometown?
I was scared shitless.
I remember we got like a phone call, and I think we were already like
we were in the hotel.
Like we were in the hotel, like we got to stay in the hotel because we were alternates and we were basically still going to be there and watching as participants, even though we weren't really in it. Anyway, we got a phone call saying that one of the teams couldn't come because of the weather, and they also didn't get their visas in time. So they were like, "You guys are in," and we were like, "What?"
15 hours later.
We were like, "What are you talking about?" We're like, "You guys have to go to the players' meeting now," and we were like, "This is a sick joke. Like, there's no way." So we had to go home that night, get our stuff, get everything, and like we had nothing. Like we had nothing. So we had to go home, get our stuff, and then come back and stay at the hotel. So it was
awesome.
That's
but
pretty exciting.
it was awesome.
Also, shout out Tyler filled up every ball for that event. So
Yeah.
shout out Tyler.
I had to fill up every ball.
I think we even have pictures with you, Ty.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No, that's I think that's super important for the sport of volleyball in Nova Scotia because since I'm not saying just at one point, but it has been on an incline in the last 10 years.
I think simply getting that sand to build the Burnside just changed beach volleyball completely in Nova Scotia, right? So like that event that you were part of is such a big moment for volleyball in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can see yourselves as two of the pioneers almost.
Yeah.
Oh God.
What's a couple thoughts that we're thinking as you guys were warming up for your first games and stuff like that?
To not throw up. I'm no joke. It was just, it felt like surreal. Like you just look around and it's a huge stadium and we played all of our games on main court.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because they were like, "These are the hometown girls. Like, we got to give them the light." And we were like, "Please don't." Like,
Is there anything else
we'll
you
play
guys
on
can
like
do?
the practice spot.
But like I think Hill and I could speak on behalf of Hill. Like we were so grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
awesome
sure.
to play teams like Germany, Brazil, China. Like it was just something that not everyone gets to do on their daily basis.
Yeah, that's a pretty surreal experience, and to have it happen within like 48 hours of, oh, we're going, we're staying in the hotel, and now it's like, oh God.
So I have a question for you. You guys have to play in those big crowds. How did it feel going back to play university and playing in smaller crowds indoor?
I don't think it didn't really faze me. I mean, there's certain venues where their fans are a little bit more wild, I would say. Acadia does have some fans. I know a lot of people don't like to play there, so I was thankful that was like my home territory, and I knew they weren't chirping me. But there were some places where, I mean, teams chirped you and whatever, where that doesn't necessarily happen so much in beach.
Yeah.
But I think people are just kind of there to have a good time, like sit in the sun, drink beer, and whatever.
Yeah.
That was my role.
Did it feel like
as a player? Though, yeah, I think it helped me like after playing in front of big crowds at home. It taught me how to like be more excited. I'm like, these people are here to watch us play. Like, let's put on a good show. So it just more pumped me up rather than going down the nervous route.
Yeah, I'm also with that too. I kind of find when people chirp me, depending on what they're saying, it kind of fires me up, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna like, let's go."
Yeah.
But like, it takes a lot. It would have to be something like pretty personal for someone to like make me upset and throw me off my game. I'm more hard on myself than what someone else is on me.
Yeah.
So I mean, the crowds were like an encouragement, I guess, like a motivator.
Motivator, yeah.
What are some of the things that like beach volleyball in Nova Scotia and even Atlantic Canada has done the last few years that you guys have liked, that has helped grow the game or that you might want to change if you had the position to?
Well, one thing that, like I mentioned before at the beginning, when Hill and I entered, it was basically the beginning of volleyball. So there's not many programs available for younger athletes. Shout out to Scotia Beach, as I'm one of their beach coaches. Mm-hmm. I think this program has done amazing for younger athletes because we've had kids like after a year come back until they start university. So now like we have more interest in like teams trying out for Canada Games teams and like different things like that. That program has done quite a bit for volleyball, like beach volleyball in Nova Scotia. It's getting more kids out. I know Volleyball Nova Scotia does programs, I think, every Wednesday night for younger kids. So I think there's more interest now, and I think at the beginning of the summer they had, I think, 100 athletes, like young kids getting out to play. And yeah, it's for like beginner skill, but at that age, that's what you need.
Because when you guys were starting, would you say there would have been like 8 athletes who were playing beach volleyball?
Maybe.
No. I know, because there's like Jordan and I were one team back in the day. We used to practice at Damien, and then Mike Baxter and Logan.
And Angus, yeah.
Caroline was there. I don't know who she played with, though. Caroline and Jane Delahunt, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, it could have been them.
I can't remember. But, I mean...
it's a beach volleyball team, provincial team.
To start out as such a small group, and now, like, even getting kids out and getting them touches, whether it's just throwing the ball, catching it in the sand, learning how to move in the sand.
Exactly.
It's very important for the growth of the sport.
Yeah.
For the next little segment here, we're going to kind of ask you guys about your coaching experiences, indoor, and Meaghan, you stated that you also coach beach a bit. So, yeah, just like get into why you coach guys now, Hill, and how you like to split your season of high school females and club males.
It kind of started with, so I had coached the girls at Horton for the 3 or 4 years now, like I had said, and I also did club for girls 16U in my third year university. And it's not that I don't like the girls or anything, it's just that I kind of like the break of it, and it's like a nice switch up. The boys kind of have, and I've noticed it even being an athlete and seeing like guys practice and whatever, there's just a different mentality where it's just kind of like, if you told them to go dive through the wall to get a ball, they would do it. Whereas like some of the girls are like, it might hurt my head. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was just like, I knew I could tell them whatever to make them better, and they would do it, and they wouldn't question me whatsoever. They wouldn't question the process. They believed in it. They followed it, and they did whatever they could to get to the next level. And I mean, shout out to Angus for starting that new club and getting the athletes that he had from DVC, and then our athletes from the Valley that decided to go follow us there with Michelle and I and Angus and Greg and Robbie. Who else is there? Am I forgetting anybody? Years. Yeah. I mean, it was just, we're not always all there together, but we all contributed somehow, and it's just a fun environment. It was a really good group of kids, so.
Nice. Yeah. I would love to eventually coach boys. It's just everyone who I help coaching with they all coach females. So until I get more free time, that's the only way I'll be able to.
I don't think you'll ever get more free time, Ty.
Yeah, I know.
Ty's had the first free time in the last 2 months, sitting his head over it.
Yeah.
Meg, do you want to touch about your coaching club and then helping out at Mount St. Vincent?
The difference between coaching young girls and older females.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it as positive as possible. No, I find coaching club, this year was my first year coaching club alongside Derek, so that was awesome to coach with him because, one, he coached me through my whole life, basically, so it was nice to kind of give back and help him out. Difference between club, I find they're a lot younger, so they're just maybe starting out. Like on our team, we had a couple girls who, this was their first club season. And you could just see like the excitement that they had to come to practice, to see the girls, to like play in tournaments. And they're always asking like, oh, when's our next away tournament? When are we going away? When's our next, like, can we scrimmage this team this week? Can we do this? And it was just so nice to see that, because they had the excitement, they wanted to be there, and they also like wanted to learn to play. they're always asking questions and they're always taking feedback well, which is surprising me because, like you mentioned, Hill, like some girls can be, what's the right word I'm looking for?
Stubborn.
Yeah, stubborn in a way. And no, like I loved coaching club this year, and it sucks because it did get cut short because of COVID-19. So I was kind of upset with that. But and then going into coaching university, which is also my first year coaching with Derek and Tyler, and that was very different. Coming from playing there, I knew what to expect from girls, and that's one reason why I told Derek I didn't want to go back and coach when there was any girls that I played with, because I just didn't want them to see me or take anything from me disrespectfully or didn't want to trust me in a way. So once all the girls were there, I spoke to Derek and he asked me to come coach, and I was like, for sure, I would totally be up for that. But it is different. I find this year there was a little bit of lack of excitement, like to go to practices. And yes, like university ball, it does take up a lot of your time. Like I was there, I know what it does. There's practices every day. You got to work out. You got to do team bonding.
You got to eat well.
Exactly. So it was a little different to see. I think I missed that excitement that I had with my younger girls that always wanted to be there, gave it their all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And one thing that university girls can try to remember is, like, if I'm not getting excited, there's someone that didn't make the team this year coming from high school who's going to be excited.
Exactly.
And that fuel has to keep firing. And that it's tough to practice every day and like that stuff.
As new generations of players come through, like they're motivated by different things. Like
definitely.
Some I remember coaching you, Meaghan. You hate losing. Like
no.
You would be pissed, but like
if either Meaghan or Hillary lose, don't talk to them for like 45 minutes. Like don't even like.
But like now in the new generation, I don't see that as much. They're motivated by different things.
They are.
And like sometimes as a coach, you have to then reinvent yourself and find out how can I motivate them the best way possible. And sometimes that's hard to do. So.
There is a lack of like that urgency to push to the like limit and win, or there's players who are okay with losing.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
And I don't like that's just me.
I don't think that if you are an athlete that is okay with losing, you are not a competitive athlete. You may consider yourself an athlete, but you're not a competitive one if you enjoy losing or you're fine with it. You're not.
You guys all know my father.
Oh, yeah. Bruce is the man.
That's where I get the competitiveness from.
If you're a friend of Meaghan's and you lose, he'll be like, oh, why'd you lose? Like, what's going on?
Meaghan and I played on a co-ed volleyball team together. Meaghan and I played on a co-ed volleyball team together just this year. And I walk in the gym, I'm getting ready to play, and Meaghan's dad's like, oh, you're not that much better. Like, you're still bad, Todd. I'm like, Bruce, I had 2 knee surgeries. I'm not supposed to be as good as I was back then. I'm like, come on, Bruce, give me a break.
Yeah.
But to your point.
I filled in with Meg for beach one time in like the beach league or whatever, and I was like, okay, I haven't played since we played together last, which was I don't know how many years ago. It was last summer, and I was like, okay, so bear with me, but we still can't lose. So the two of us, it was like nothing really happened. I mean, the first little bit was a little bit shaky, but like we came together, we still didn't lose, and I was like, damn, we still got it.
Is there one tip or a piece of advice you'd like to leave young beach athletes or volleyball athletes in general?
What was that?
Is there one piece of advice that you'd like to leave like young beach athletes or young indoor athletes for just like growing the game, growing their skills, getting their parents to build a court in their backyard?
Yeah. Personally, I think like if you are gonna be interested in beach volleyball, start young. Like it's tough because a lot of coaches nowadays, or I'm gonna call them volleyball Nova Scotia here, they are trying to get athletes from university to start playing beach now, and they think it's just a quick transition, but it's not. They're both completely different. They both take different like development skills, and they're trying to train them for like the next Canada Games.
Yeah. And
yes, like you can be the greatest athlete, like competitive athlete in indoor, but you're not necessarily going to be the greatest at beach. So that's like one thing that I encourage. Put your child in beach volleyball in the summers after they start volleyball. You just learn so much more, and not even just about the game, but like about yourself, because beach volleyball is only 2 players.
So would you suggest that someone's very first experience could be beach because there's only 2 people on the court? And like if they're, let's say, 11 years old and they're starting, like that's a better place for them to start because there's no one beside them who they can look and like, are you passing this ball or am I passing that ball? It's just the 2 of them.
Right. It's kind of more like you see the ball, you go get the ball because there's only 2 of you there. And the point is still the same, like it's not supposed to hit your side of the court. So I think that would be good. Yeah. And like Meg said, like starting them young is definitely something that they should consider and do. I encourage all my indoor athletes to go play beach because it will help them indoor, and then it'll be better for when they come back to me the next year. So it's great. And then also, like Meg said, about like players in university going and playing and expecting so much from them because they're so great indoor is, I find, a hard expectation for them in the sense, yes, they are great athletes and great players indoor, but if push comes to shove, they're going to go back to their habits because we're creatures of habit, and they're going to start tipping and start doing indoor things you're not allowed to do, and then that's what's going to happen when things get under pressure.
Or and like hard balls. Like,
right. I don't think that's a fair expectation for them to have in those situations. But I mean, I'm not saying that if you're in university indoor, you shouldn't go play. You can, but just don't have that kind of expectation of them right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because some people's game transfers over to spike ball better than beach volleyball.
AKA you.
Oh, I don't have to jump off the moving stand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, that game can get really intense.
Oh, I know, yeah. No, actually, Hillary, I'm going to steal that Creatures of Habit. Creatures of Habit. I'm stealing that for sure. Well, thank you guys. You guys were our first official guests on Behind the Mind.
Oh, I feel so special.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got the roll.